What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys another Cosmo deck profile, but it's going to be a different version of the Cosmo deck. It's going to be an anti-True Draco Cosmo deck. Just because I think that True Dracos are one of the top decks right now, and because their cards were like newly released in Maximum Crisis, and I think they're beating quite a lot of decks. So maybe people are looking for how to beat them. So I thought I'd make this deck. Which I actually regularly use against True Dracos, because if you check my previous video, my brother uses True Dracos, so I obviously verse him with my Cosmos. And after quite a lot of duels, I've kind of been experimenting with my deck, and I think this is probably one of the best versions of the deck. So if you are finding True Dracos annoying, then I would suggest you use this deck, because it's working pretty well for me. So we're going to start off with the main deck. For the big ships, like big ships, I use one Dark Eclipser, one Dark Destroyer, and two Forerunners. These are really good against True Dracos because if you've versed them before, you know that the trap cards, when you destroy them, they target your monsters and destroy them, but these four can't be targeted, which is really good. Dark Eclipse is really good because they do use a lot of traps, and I've seen that if you have Dark Eclipse on the field, they pretty much cannot do anything. You attack them, they can't activate, for example, Storming. You can't activate their trap cards to tribute summon, even though it's your turn. So that's really good. Unless it's already been activated, in which case you pretty much can't do anything. But even in that case, they won't summon a monster with probably more than 3,000 attack unless it's Masterpiece. Dark Destroyer is good because it just pops a card in the field. Forerunner, in case you are down in life points, you can use him to gain life points, but mainly because he's got high attack, and the highest attack in True Dracos is Masterpiece. We can still crash into Masterpiece and get, for example, Slip Rider to get rid of one of their spell traps. But these four mainly because they can't be targeted. And then for the other big ships, I use two Landwalkers and three Slip Riders. Landwalker because their trap cards, if you don't have these on the field, their trap cards will target your other cards, for example, your Psychics or Slip Rider or Landwalker himself. So you can use Landwalker's effect to pop Cosmotown instead and get a card that you want. Or just pop Cosmotown and get another Cosmotown, but it'll prevent your monster from dying, which is really good. If you are thinking, why don't you two Dark Eclipses? I don't have two at the moment. One does work really well, mainly because he's not got the effect of banishing to special summon, it's the effect of banishing to add to the hand. So that is why I would prefer to use one. But if you do want to use two, I'd recommend taking out a Landwalker, putting in another Eclipser, because that's an extra ship that can't be targeted. But I think one Eclipser and two Landwalkers is good because, just popping your own cards. Then we have three Slip Rider, obviously, because the amount of back row that True Dracos use, you want three Slip Riders to get rid of the back row. That's it for the big ships. We use two Wicked Witches. Again, I think you can guess why we use two of these. Mainly because, again, the cards target, or if you want to stall, you can put this in defense and special summon it till you get a good card, or leave it in attack and you can attack if they don't have any monsters. But mainly because if they activate an effect to target and destroy, you can just activate the effect and they can't destroy the card for the rest of the turn. One Farm Girl. I was using two Farm Girl, but OTKing against True Kings I think is pretty hard. That's why I only go for the one Farm Girl instead of two, because the chance of you OTKing is very, I think, unlikely. So it'd be best to use one in case you can, and then you just OTK them. I was kind of bricking with two because, in my opinion, you don't really want to draw her. You want to get down to her with a big ship, just like two Strawman, because then you can use the effect to, for example, special summon any other monster you want, and it works better with one. But if you have two, then if you've pretty much used all your resources and you've got another Farm Girl, you've not really got anything to add to your hand. So just use one of her. Strawman, I love using two of him because he is, in my opinion, probably the best Psychic. In the sense that he pretty much, you just pay 500 and you special summon a big ship, but it is actually that simple, and you can, in the end phase, they die, and then you can just manage special summon. Just love doing it. Or if you already have a Slip Rider, you can summon another one and go into infinity and just go off. They can't do anything. 3 Tin Can. Yes, I do run Tin Can Turbo. Mainly because just getting all your good cards. For example, I love to search Eclipser, Destroyer, and Slip Rider mostly. These three because if you have Call of the Haunted, if any of them go to the graveyard, if you get this to your hand, then you can negate their traps by summoning it. You get this, you can pop a monster. You get this, you can pop a spell. But if you got Call of the Haunted, then you can just get any of them back anyway. And just, pop. It's pretty much that simple. You summon back, you've not really lost a card. Plus, after you get it back with Call of the Haunted, you can just send it to the graveyard and banish it anyway. So in that sense, I think Tin Can Turbo is really good. I use two kaijus. I use Radian, I use one to crash with Forerunner in case say they have Masterpiece. You go over Masterpiece, kaiju, and then ram it with Forerunner. You can go into Farmgirl if you want and start attacking. Or you can just go for Strawman, the safe play, and special summon a big ship and then go into a smaller ship if you want to go into Forerunner and then end turn summon Slip Rider and pop one of their back row. And then I go for Gamma Seal. Gamma Seal because if you look at your big ships, the lowest attack your big ship has is 2,300 and Gamma Seal has 2,200 attack, so it's even if you have your smaller ship, you can still destroy Gamma Seal. But yeah, that's it. These two cards basically go against True Dracos because if they use a monster to tribute summon Masterpiece and a spell, then you can't obviously Dark Hole or Raigeki, and pretty much the only out to it then is to attack over it, which is going to be pretty hard because if you have Dark Destroyer, then they will have Dragonic Diagram on the field, most likely, and then you can't go over anyway. So Kaiju is like pretty much one of the only solutions to Masterpiece. But then again, they're not always going to have Masterpiece, so I just use two Kaijus because if I had more, I'd have to make probably space for Salumba, which I don't think there is space for in this deck, so I just prefer to use just these two Kaijus. That's it for the monsters. Spells, I use, I think it's obvious, 3 Cosmo Towns and 2 Terraforming. I don't think I need to explain that in like any Cosmo deck profile because you just gotta have these cards. 3 Allure of Darkness because you are running like quite a lot of darks, 2 Wicked Witches, 2 Landwalkers, a Dark Eclipser, Radiant. Also, you're using the Dark Kaiju, which you can banish, and Dark Destroyer, obviously. I forgot to mention, I don't use Dark Lady because if you first True Dracos, their effect activates when you activate and affect their monsters. So if you want to get Dark Lady in the field, you're probably going to have to banish to special summon her, and they're probably going to have a monster on the field anyway, so they're going to activate their effect, and then you end, and then they destroy Dark Lady anyway. And I was finding Dark Lady pretty useless because a lot of the times you can't do anything and you can't banish her to special summon, and she's got low attack, and I was just kind of getting annoyed of her. But I definitely side her, obviously, because in case you do go against some decks. Plus, if they tribute summon, Dark Lady can't negate that because the monster's already summoned and they attack, and Dark Lady's useless. But yeah, 3 Allure of Darkness, and then obviously 3 Twin Twister. If you're versing True Dracos, you gotta have 3 Twin Twisters. The amount of times that you can just start, if you like, I do like going second with this deck, but Tin Can you can go first, so it's pretty much a win for you either way. If you draw this and they choose to go first and you go second, you can just straight away activate this, pop 2 of their back row, and they can't pop your spells if you pop a spell, or traps if you pop a trap, because you've got nothing on the field, so always get rid of their back row first. It's amazing. And without their spells and traps, True Dracos can't do anything. 1 Itelli, obviously, you gotta have this in every Cosmo deck just to get yourself started. 2 Dark Holes and a Raigeki. Again, if you get rid of their monsters and they have if they don't have My Body's a Shield, then that's just amazing. If they do, it's better to have 2 Dark Holes and a Raigeki. But if you get the amount of times that they've got a full field or whatever, you activate Raigeki, they can do whatever they want, but in the end, Raigeki, Dark Hole, your monsters die, you can special summon, their monsters always die, even if you have Raigeki, and when they lose their monsters, it can be very hard for them to get the monsters back, whereas for Cosmos it's a lot easier. So, highly recommend these 3 cards. Pretty much can win duels, and this can be like an anti-meta deck for every deck, because Dark Hole and Raigeki is good against every deck, but gotta use these 3. I think they're probably the best spells. Like after Cosmoton, this is probably the best thing you need. And also because you can get rid of their back row first with Twin Twister, and then just Dark Hole, and that's it. You've got rid of their back row, you've got rid of their monsters. They're pretty much not going to get any of that back. And yeah, but also remember with Twin Twister, you got always pop Diagram. No matter what the situation, pop diagram first and then whatever other card you want. Because if you don't get rid of that diagram, you will most likely lose. What I've learned, like I have thought that they can't use diagram, or just pop their 2 back rows so they contribute summon, and they will use diagram, pop the back row, get anything else they want, and it just gets crazy again. So always destroy diagram. That's it for the spells. For the traps, I use 3 Call of the Haunted, obviously because Tin Can Turbo, send anything to the graveyard, special summon it back. It's pretty much that easy. And 3 Reckless Greeds. Now, yes, some people may be thinking, why do you want to use Reckless Greed? You can't draw for the next turns, but this is probably the card which makes me win the duel, because what you got to realize is that Cosmos don't plus, like, they don't get extra cards. You activate Allure of Darkness, you use 1 card, you draw 2, but you banish 1, so you've just got 1 in your card in your hand. And in the best case scenario, you can just activate Cosmotown to get the card back, in which case you just plus 1, but that's not that good. But with Cosmos, what you want to do with against True Dracos is get as many cards as you can in your hand. And for example, if I've got this in my hand at start, I always set it, and during their turn, or if they don't pop it during my turn, I'll activate it. Hopefully draw Twin Twister, which I've done quite a lot of times, or Dark Hole or Raigeki, end them. So it's really good in that scenario. Plus, with Cosmos, I think it's obvious, but with Cosmos, you want to have as many cards as you want in your hand, or as you can in your hand. Because firstly, if it's not good, you've got Cosmotown, you shuffle it back in, draw. And secondly, the more cards you have in your hand with Cosmos, the bigger your combos. Plus, if you draw 2, or you have 1 and you've got 1 draw phase that you can't draw left, activate another Reckless Greed and it just stays at 2 instead of going to 3. And you've got all the cards you want in your hand in the first place anyway. So this card is probably one of the best cards in this version of the deck. And it goes really well with Allure of Darkness as well, because you're drawing as much as you can, and the more you draw, the higher the chance you've got of getting the cards to actually stop True Dracos from doing what they want. So it's really good in that scenario. I don't use Cosmodras, and I'll get to that in a second. That's it for the main deck. I'll just go through the extra deck, just for the fun of it. Pretty much the main cards you want to see are pretty much the only level 5s. You got Nova and Infinity. In worst case scenario, if you do have Slip Riders, then you got to go into this. And with True Kings, it's that if you negate something in the beginning, then like, they won't be able to do anything further. Like, say they activate Terraforming, you negate Terraforming, they don't get Diagram, they can't do anything, full stop. Pleiades, again, really good because it returns a card to the hand. So if they do have Masterpiece in the field and he's been spelled trap, you send it back to the hand and got to summon him using 2 cards again. Or if you send a monster back to the hand, they've got to tribute summon again. Really good in that case. Volcasaurus is also really good in scenarios where they've got low life points and you just want to make them die, so you just activate this, his effect, and they die. Don't really use this, but you can still have it in just in case. Utopia Lightning is pretty good. Well, I say it's pretty good. It's only good in the scenario where you bait out Masterpiece. He pops a different card, you summon this, 5k attack, and yeah, that's Masterpiece gone. Abyss Dweller, obviously good because you do use 2 Wicked Witch, so you can stop their spells and traps from activating the graveyard. And then the rest are pretty much just fillers. You can see the cards. Not really anything big here. But yeah, pretty much I would recommend the level 5s for Slip Rider. Pretty much after these you don't really need anything else. Now for the side deck, I have also made the side deck to counter, as well as True Dracos, True King Dracos. So for True King Dracos, you can use Maxi, which obviously if they special summon, then you can just draw cards. But I wouldn't highly recommend this because I just keep it in case you're versing a different deck. But this is good because other decks do special summon, so you can use this against that. But I guess it's like an upstart again. If you just discard and draw a card, just a filler. Dark Lady I side in case it does work in some scenarios, but for example, if True Kings are going to the graveyard, you can just negate their effects and they can't special summon. Good Witch, in case they're using, for example, Fossil Diner or any monster that, you know, whose effect would... how should I put this? Say they've got that True Draco, I can't even remember his name. There's a True Draco monster where you have to, like, if he's on the field and you can't destroy other True Dracos, you have to target him or whatever, something like that, so you can just flip him face down and then, you know, do whatever you want and his effect doesn't activate. That's pretty much that, but it's mostly just to flip cards face down, for example, if they've got lower defense. Does come in clutch a lot of times. One Farm Girl, in case you want to play two, you know, if you want to go for the OTK, go for it. One Sword Trooper, pretty much, you know, if there's anything in the graveyard, you can just get it back. I do side the Cosmo Joe, mainly because what I have, like, experienced quite a lot of the time, when you get this, you might not have a Cosmo on the field that's high level. You might have a Psychic that you don't really want to destroy. So you just set this and then True Dracos can just pop it and then it was pretty much useless. But you can still choose to use it because it is a banishing card, so you can banish the spells and traps. So it's like a 50-50. But the problem I find using Cosmojo is if they have Masterpiece and you have this, it's useless because you can target your monster. He can target your monster, destroy your monster. This card loses target, it's gone. It's, you know, pretty much useless. One Solemn for Masterpiece, obviously, to negate his summon. Or any other monster that, for example, the main monster that sets or activates or adds to the hand a spell or trap card. You don't want that on the field. That's probably one of the worst cards to have on the field, so you might want to get rid of that. One Torrential Tribute. It helps you, kind of like a Dark Hole, but when a monster summon. It's bad for True Dracos, but it can be good for you because your monsters can die and banish and special summon. One Oasis. If you feel like 3/4 of the Haunted is not enough, just use another Oasis. It's just pretty much if you want to. Now, I use one Macrocosmos and two Mask of Restrict. You don't want to use this card if it's True King Dracos, because they're not going to be tributing as much. I have used this against True Dracos, but after experimenting, I've kind of concluded that they usually pop the back row before they do something, because they can set a spell, use Diagram to pop it. It goes to the graveyard, they pop this, it was useless. Same with Macrocosmos, but again, if you do want to use these cards because you think they work, then you can use them, but I've just sided them just in case. And Macrocosmos because their spell and trap cards activate when they go to the graveyard, but if they're banished, then they don't activate. For the spells, one Soul Charge and one Reasoning. Soul Charge is really, really good in this deck because you're using the tin can. I did put this in my deck, but I felt like I was bricking too much with it because I had this in my hand, and I didn't think I could continue doing anything because it doesn't let you attack. It's only good in the scenarios where if you have, say, Dark Eclipser and Dark Destroyer and Slip Rider, or you have two Slip Riders. It has 1-me games, like you activate, you summon two Slip Riders and Dark Destroyer, pop two back rows and a monster. But you've got to use cards that would be pretty much useful in like 90% of scenarios, which Soul Charge I don't think is, because if you have used your cards to banish and special summon, you draw this, you've got nothing in your graveyard, there we go, it's pretty much useless, you don't want to draw it. And Reasoning, same reason, because, well, reasoning. One of the reasons is because it's not 100% chance, and it has happened many times that they say a level and I just mill like 5-6 cards and they're like Cosmo Town and Call of the Haunted and Reckless Greed and Twin Twist, and then I get a monster and then summon it, but it's not worth all the cards that you've lost, so that's why I side it. But it can be good if you do get lucky. Reasoning, it just depends on luck. And Soul Charge just depends on getting it at the right time. But that's gonna be it for the deck profile, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, I have tested this out quite a bit and I think it works really well. It's just mainly the Reckless Greeds, which I think, along with the Allure of Darkness, that work really well. But tell me if you guys agree with the deck or if there's anything that you would change. Just leave it in the comments below. This is just my personal opinion on a good version of the deck. If there's any other cards that I've missed that are good against True Dracos, just leave it in the comments below and I'll see if I can make a deck with them. But I find this deck like really good. Like, there's so many cards that are good against True Dracos. You can pop back row, pop monsters, can't be targeted. It just works so well that and it's not even an expensive deck if I'm going to be honest. You know, pretty much the most expensive card in it is Raigeki. But yeah, I think that pretty much covered everything. I'll see if I can make a duel against with this deck against 2 Dracos. Not a promise, but if you use this on YGO, this deck against 2 Dracos, I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to see the results. But thank you for watching. That's going to be it for me today. Yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.